He never said, "I did it." But everyone in the room knew. Some confessions don't come with words. Some come with fear. This was one of them. Welcome to Moral Compass 01, where we explore real stories with real lessons. He wasn't dangerous. He wasn't loud. He wasn't reckless. He had a job, friends, and a routine. The kind of man people describe as normal. He always believed criminals were careless people. People who made noise. People who got caught. He believed he was smarter than that. He saw himself as a background character in life, the type who observes, not participates. His days were predictable, filled with the comforting rhythm of work, gym, and quiet evenings at home. He prided himself on his control, his ability to stay under the radar. To him, the world was divided into two groups, those who lived within the lines and those who crossed them. He was firmly in the first group, or so he thought. He judged the people he saw on the news, shaking his head at their foolish mistakes, convinced he would never be so clumsy, so obvious. He was just an ordinary guy, living an ordinary life. But ordinary lives can take extraordinary turns with just one small decision. It all started with a favor. A simple request from a friend he trusted, a voice he recognized from years of shared history. The call came late, the voice on the other end casual, almost dismissive of the importance of the request. "I just need your help tonight." "Nothing serious," the friend said. He promised no weapons, no masks, no violence. "Just be there. Just watch, that's all." It sounded harmless enough, didn't it? A minor detour from his routine. He told himself, "I'm not doing anything wrong." That single sentence, that small justification, would echo in his mind for years, following him like a shadow. He convinced himself it was just a matter of being a good friend, of showing up when someone needed him. He wasn't a participant, he was an observer. He was just helping out. The moral compromise felt small, almost insignificant at the time. He weighed the risk against his loyalty and made his choice, never imagining that this small favor was the first step off a very steep cliff. The night didn't go as planned. Of course, they never do. What was supposed to be a quiet, simple task erupted into chaos. A door slammed somewhere in the darkness, a sharp crack that shattered the silence. Someone shouted, a voice tight with panic. Then came the sound of footsteps, frantic and scattering in every direction. The sirens arrived faster than courage. They sliced through the night air, growing louder and closer with terrifying speed. People scattered like dust in the wind. Excuses were already forming in their minds as they ran. But he froze. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He just stood there, his breath catching in his chest, each inhale too loud, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. His mind was racing, thinking too fast, trying to process the blur of motion and sound. The plan was gone. The calm was gone. In its place was a raw, paralyzing fear. And in that moment of stillness, surrounded by the chaos he had agreed to just watch, his fate was sealed. They didn't arrest him, which surprised him. He expected cuffs, or ride in a police car, the whole dramatic scene he'd watched in movies. Instead, they approached him calmly. "We just want to talk," one of them said. The tone was disarming, almost friendly. There were no handcuffs. No threats. No raised voices. They led him to a quiet room, a sterile space with a table and a few chairs. The voices of the officers were calm, measured. They offered him water. They spoke to him not like a suspect, but like a witness, someone who could help them piece things together. He felt a wave of relief wash over him. This wasn't so bad. He felt safe. In fact, he felt too safe. The absence of aggression lulled him into a false sense of security. He let his guard down, believing their calm demeanor meant they saw him as he saw himself, an innocent bystander caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. He thought he was in a conversation, when he was actually in an interrogation. They started with simple questions. Where were you? Who were you with? What time did you arrive? The questions were straightforward, easy. He answered quickly. Maybe too quickly. His words tumbled out, eager to fill the silence and prove his cooperation. He started adding details they didn't ask for, volunteering information to paint a clearer picture of his innocence. He described the color of his friend's car, the topic of their last conversation, what he had for dinner earlier that evening. He corrected himself on minor points, wanting his story to be perfectly accurate. Actually, it was closer to, he'd say, interrupting his own narrative. He filled every pause, every moment of silence, with more explanations, more words. Every word he spoke felt helpful. Every detail he added felt smart. But as he talked, he noticed the room grew quieter. The officers leaned back, their pens still, their eyes fixed on him. They were no longer asking many questions. They were just listening. Then came the moment. One officer leaned back in his chair, the slight creak of the leather filling the room. He looked at the man, his expression unreadable, and said softly, "You said earlier you arrived at 9. He paused, letting the words hang in the air. "Now you're saying it was 8:30. Silence. A profound, heavy silence that felt like a physical weight. The man's heart reacted before his mouth could think. It jumped, a frantic bird trapped in his chest. A nervous laugh escaped his lips, high-pitched and unnatural. He started explaining again, the words rushing out, tripping over each other. He explained the traffic, the phone call he made, trying to patch the hole that had just appeared in his story. He explained more and more, desperate to make it all make sense. And that's when he realized something was terribly wrong. Their faces hadn't changed. They weren't confused. They weren't asking him to understand. They were just listening to remember. Every word he said was a brick, and he was building his own prison. Mid-sentence, he just stopped. It was too late. He saw it in their eyes. It wasn't anger. It wasn't shock. It was clarity. A calm, certain understanding that settled over their features like a mask. In that chilling moment, he understood. They hadn't trapped him. They hadn't tricked him with clever questions or manipulative tactics. He had built the trap himself, piece by piece, with every unnecessary detail, every nervous correction, every word he had volunteered to fill the silence. He had walked right into it and closed the door behind him. His own fear of being misunderstood, his desperate need to appear innocent and helpful, had become the prosecution's greatest asset. He had been so focused on proving he was smart, he failed to see that the smartest move was to say nothing at all. He had been so afraid of their judgment that he handed them the verdict himself. The charges came later, quietly. Officially. There was no drama, no big scene. Just a piece of paper that changed everything. After that, he replayed the interview in his mind every night, a relentless loop of his own voice. He heard every word he volunteered, every detail he added, every silence he had so eagerly destroyed. He dissected his own sentences, cringing at his foolishness. He wasn't betrayed by his friend. He wasn't forced into a confession by the officers. He was undone by his own fear. Fear made him talk too much. Fear made him contradict himself. Fear made him look guilty long before a judge or jury ever had the chance. He had been so desperate to control the narrative that he lost control of himself. The quiet room, the calm voices, it had all been a stage, and he had been the star of his own downfall, delivering a monologue of self-incrimination. The consequences rippled through his life, subtle at first, then all-encompassing. Friendships that had seemed solid for years simply disappeared. Phone calls went unanswered. Text messages were left on read. Trust, once given freely, vanished completely. He could see it in the way people looked at him. Averted eyes in the grocery store. Whispers from former colleagues. It wasn't just because of what he did on that chaotic night. It was because of what he said in that quiet room. His words had painted a picture of someone unreliable, someone who panics, someone who can't be trusted under pressure. Freedom doesn't always leave with a loud bang, a slammed cell door. Sometimes it just fades, slowly, quietly, until you wake up one day and realize it's gone. His world shrank, the walls closing in, built not of brick and mortar, but of suspicion and broken trust. He learned something far too late. You don't have to shout "I am guilty" from the rooftops to destroy your life. Your fear will do it for you. It will speak when you should be silent. It will offer details when none are needed. It will tie the knots of the rope that hangs you. The most dangerous confession is the one that fear whispers for you, the one you give without even realizing it. Thank you for watching Moral Compass 01. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more real stories with real lessons. Stay safe and stay wise.